Hi guys. Oh, 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 I made it. Hi. Today we're gonna talk about postpartum care, and I'll be done with it real quick. I have a bad feeling my baby's gonna wake up a little earlier than expected, but hopefully it'll last. 잠깐만. Oh? Wow. I officially also lowered my or I canceled and got a cheaper data plan because I don't do IRL stream. So having like a unlimited data was waste for me because I don't even go outside. So I'm always on like using the Wi-Fi. So everything is going cheap route, but it saves money. So that's a good thing. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about today's podcast is going to be about my regrets of the postpartum care in Korea. Dong dong, which is kind of surprising because you expect that it's such a great opportunity, and you expect that like. Oh, sorry, I just got a Kakao text. 잠깐만. I will just quickly respond to this. My auntie is doing a mini business and she told me about like how she's wanting to have some Instagram videos, and she was like, if you're bored you should make some, and I was like, okay. Oh wow, she has TikTok, but I don't like the person's like editing skill. Oh hello, long time no see. So like it's like nah, but oh okay. I don't know what she wants me to see. Okay. Anyways, today's podcast is going to be about my regrets going to the postpartum care in Korea. I thought I talked about it, but I guess I forgot. So, by the way, my hair's all over the place. Anyways, after I left the hospital, I registered the Korean postpartum care that everyone talks about, and obviously, it's like a perfect opportunity, like an exciting opportunity because it was so popular. Apparently, like some people in the US talked about the Korean postpartum care, and everyone sounded like it's a perfect opportunity that you must go, blah, blah, blah. Oh, thank you. I'm trying my best to go back to old Jinri. So I got the opportunity to stay at a postpartum care for 1 week, as in, you know, it is pretty pricey, and Mia did pay a lot. My husband did pay. He thought that because my mom was going to be coming late, we thought that the planning was going to be a little. Wait, we thought that it wouldn't match the time of when she arrived. We'll have the baby because you can never predict when you're going to have the baby unless you're doing C-section. We ended up having to go to the postpartum care because like I said, we're new parents, we're not sure how to take care of this baby, and since if my mom's not going to be there, we thought that it would be like kind of like a disaster. So we ended up registering for postpartum care, and so what we looked into when we were trying to find a postpartum care was, one, sometimes they use these like weird filters, air circulation, blah blah blah, and buy these weird tools, but they say it's like safe. But we tried to find places that didn't use any of those because we weren't sure how it would be affecting the baby. Like there's really crazy ones. I don't remember what one postpartum care was using, but we tried to find something that was like just, you know, natural. And we also looked into how we were able to see the baby. So some places like they have the baby blinders closed because it's kind of like how it's done in the hospital. They place the babies in the baby room and they come to see you twice a day. And I didn't like it when I get to see the baby twice a day. So what we ended up doing is we also were trying to find a place where they would allow us to stay with the baby whenever we wanted. So my goal of being with the baby was trying to be with him as much as I can, but also get good night's sleep because everyone kept emphasizing sleep, right? So that's one of the, like, that was the 3-4 things that I found very important when I was trying to find my postpartum care. And so we found one. It was a decent place. They did a remodeling. It was also like 15 minutes away. What was surprising was they were very strict on whether the mom can leave or not. So if I wanted to leave, I had to sign a paper that says I'm leaving on a certain day and I'll be returning, blah, blah, blah. But the place that I registered was known for their delicious food and it was pretty good. It was, I would have to give it out. I was like, holy cow, it's like hotel fancy dinner. So that was what I was looking, and like I said, I registered into one postpartum care. So right after we got out of the hospital, we went there, and it was a fun experience because our baby was super small, that when we put the baby in the car seat, he had lots of space opening, so we tried to tighten as much as possible. But like, I swear to God, we thought that like his hand would fall somewhere. I don't know, it was so precious. Anyways, we got to the postpartum care and we ended up, so we ended up getting there and I gave the baby off to the nurse. They weren't actual nurses. I think they do have like a certificate. We don't know if it's actually from the government, like it's like a legitimate certificate. And when I mean legitimate certificate, there are some certificates that's given out as kind of like from companies. So yeah, I guess they're more nannies. I think nannies would be a better way of putting it than nurses. But yeah. And we got to a room. The first thing they wanted us to do is sign these paper that talked about like how the baby's being treated, what you're going to be giving. But that was one sus moment that I had, was when we were talking about how we wanted the babies fed, they said there was a lot of, one sus moment that I had was whenever there were some comments that I wanted to read and think for myself, they would kind of guide me, would be a nicer way of putting it, but you know, force me to go to a certain direction. For example, one of them was like feeding. I was like, oh, I wanted to do fully breastfeeding, but she was talking about how, okay, if you do fully breastfeeding, you will not get good rest. So I would recommend doing that middle one. And like, first time mom, we don't know anything, right? So I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, like we checked the middle one. And then, you know, like somehow I was just kind of like, I don't know what was going on. She's just talking to me. I can't get anything processing in my head. And I ended up just signing this, right? So that was like really fast. And then she goes off and she's like, okay, mom, change, get settled into the postpartum care and everything. She was a nice lady though. She was really nice. She was very caring. She was very worried. Oh, I also mentioned how I wanted to do the 24-hour, or I wanted to do like staying with the baby as much as I can, but she was more worried about me saying, oh mom, if you do that, like we call it 24시 모자동실. Oh fudge, I forgot to turn on. Why did no one why did no one tell me what Chijik? Anyways, but we wanted to do the 24-hour postpartum care. Sorry, we wanted to do a 24-hour staying with the baby, but they weren't that excited about. I don't know. It was just kind of like they were more worried about me getting good night's sleep than me being with a baby, which I didn't understand. But I guess because that's kind of like the recent trend in Korea. I tell you guys about how moms should rest instead of staying with a baby. So since she told me that, I was like, oh, okay, sure. But I still do want to be with the baby. And she's like, don't worry, you'll be with the baby, but you should get good sleep. So I was like, okay, well, maybe she has some reason, right? Because she's a nanny and she's been here for a while, right? Well, after that, they took me to all these places, and it was like super chaotic the first day I got there because like I get a bunch of calls. The first call was from the masseuse, and they were like, oh, you should get your free trial massage. And I was like, okay. And then like a couple minutes later, there was another lady calling about like breast massage, but like since, like I said, I just got out of the hospital, I barely got any sleep, they used the word massage, so I thought it was from the same place. And they were like, oh, when are you coming? And I was like, what? Oh, okay. And she was like, yeah, don't forget to come to the breast massage. I was like, oh, okay. Wait, I thought I had a massage at 2:30, but they want me to come at 2? What is going on? It was just all over the place. So yeah, but before we got to the massage part, I got a full tour of the whole place, which was really cool. They had an open area where they do the yoga in the morning. So moms come out at like 7 or 8 in the morning to do the yoga. They had a certain special area for the breakfast where dads, if they have to go to work, most dads went to work during postpartum care. They had cereals, they had coffee, and at nighttime they have snacks. They give you rice porridge. So wow, super fancy, right? And like I said, they have boob massage specialist. They also had a masseuse for your massage thingy. And what else do they have? They have all these like mom related events where you can make the black and white color book, or the black white book for the baby, or the mobile you can make and everything. Oh, I still have the lower. Oh, my lower back pain ended, guys. Oh, that's a different story. Anyways, sorry, I have to finish my story because as you can see, my brain does not function as well still. So anyways, there's lots of things that's very supportive of the mom, and it's like super cool, right? So like they were telling me all these like fun activities that you can do at the postpartum care. Oh, they also had a newborn photo shoot where you get really like, it's a free trial that you can get, and they make these babies in a nice shape. I don't even know how to put it, and they take really cute pictures. But the problem is that if you want to buy the full, like the raw pictures, now that's where this comes in, right? So I was thinking about it, and today was the only day I could take the pictures, so it's like lots of thinking, which is like kind of sad at one point because it's all money. I already paid a lot of money to stay here for a week, but there's also like other packages related to it that you have to pay extra. So I was like, oh my god, this is like crazy business that you could be doing, right? Business Jinri mind going on, being like, oh my god, imagine how much money I could be making by opening a postpartum care, right? I'll think about it of opening one in US if we really, really need one, because like I saw my mom do it, I saw Mia do it. I think us three can do like a good postpartum business in the US, and we'll call it like, I don't know, like seaweed soup postpartum. So yeah, After they gave me a tour of the place and activities, they also showed me the baby room. I got to see my baby in a baby room. They also had a CCTV that was on 24/7. Only one person can register, so I was gonna give that off to Mia. But you know, baby was sleeping nice and cozy in his crib, and I was like, oh, that's so cute. And I got to my room. They were like, okay, now you can settle in, change. You'll have your lunch coming. Oh, no, yeah, they gave me my lunch with Mia, so we ended up eating lunch with Mia, which was also an unfortunate thing because the first meal with Mia or with my husband was free, and after that, any meal you wanted for your husband, you had to pay extra. So you can kind of see where the money is coming in. So most of the times the mom don't make the dad stay with them. They ended up just sending them off home. But it was like a decent price though. It was, I think, like 13,000 won, so like $10 for the husband's dinner. At least we don't have to pay the tips. But I was like, oh my god, imagine all these like DLCs, guys. Like, that's crazy. Oh my god, this is a good business to run, right? Anyway, so first lunch meal with Mia, it was great. We had seaweed soup with really good side dishes. I forgot what we had, but it was like really good side dishes. They come with like 3 or 4 side dishes, and then you have rice, and they were like, if you want more rice, let us know, and we'll try to match mom's requirement in terms of how much you want to be fed or how little you want to be fed. We also look into how much you're eating, and like you have to put the tray back at certain places, blah blah blah. So that was that. And then I got called to the breast, massage. I went to the breast massage. It was kind of weird because I had my boobs open and they were like escorting out my, my breast milk, which I thought that was kind of weird because the first breast milk is so important. It's like the breast milk that you want to feed the baby, but they're squirting it out and throwing it away. They keep wiping off my breast milk, and I was like, is this right? But I wasn't so much pain. I was starting to get the pain, like the boob pain, that like it was helping out the fact that she was squirting it out, but it was a little weird that like what was being said in the textbook was different of how these nannies were taken care of. So that was kind of like an unfortunate thing, but it did feel nice. Yeah, I know you guys are guys, but if you are a girl and you're trying to find a good job, it's like breast milk. I highly recommend that. So breast massage, that's a good job, but it does feel weird touching other girls' boobas. It was a very fun experience getting touched by other women, in my boobs, but it does help out with making my boob feel better. Anyways, after that, I went to the massage place. She was very strong. The power that she had of giving me a massage, I was actually like screaming out, like it was so painful. But the whole time she's like, oh my god, mom, you are so stiff, like you have to do this and that here, and this is what you have to do, oh my god. And she was also like grabbing onto this neck part. I don't know if you guys can feel it, but apparently if you do this, like it really helps out with the body circulation and make you look skinny. So this is where you're supposed to be pressing on. She's like ripping off of this part, and I'm like so the whole time I'm just super exhausted, right? Finally got to my bed. I was busy taking pictures because I was like, oh, this is like a good thing for blogging. I don't think I was going to stream there. I was thinking about streaming maybe like one time during my postpartum care, because like I said, if I don't have the baby, then it's like, what am I supposed to do there? That was also the second like weird part about this postpartum care, is that like I don't know what to do. I am not like a long sleeping person, so I don't like sleeping as much. It may sound weird to you, but I like to do stuff. I'm a very active person, and staying there was a little stressful for me because I wanted to do something. And they say that they have all these like fancy stuff of, like, you know, I told you guys about the book that they're making or the mobile that you'll be making, but like I still wanted to do stuff, right? But there wasn't that much stuff to do because you're just in a hotel room for 1 week and you're just getting fed. That's kind of what this postpartum care feels like. And I know they say to sleep, but you don't get that tired because you're not exercising as much inside being in a room, so you don't get a lot of like tiredness in your body. So I was kind of like questioning that part too, but you know, like at least I'm going to still rest, right? Well, that evening I went to go see the baby, and what was interesting though before that was they never called me to breastfeed the baby, which was pretty interesting too. I guess that's my like third sus part. Is my other friends told me that they would get the calls of breastfeeding, but instead they wanted me to just pump out breast milk, and that they would feed the breast milk instead of latching it on directly, which was also kind of weird. You would imagine that you want the baby to be latched onto you more often than to be fed with breast milk using a bottle. And I read that it's easy for the baby to get used to, if the baby get used to the bottle, the rubber part of the bottle, they might not end up latching onto your boobs. So then I got really confused. So what ended up happening was I went to the place and I was like, I want to breastfeed the baby. And they were like, oh, okay, well, the baby just ate, so we'll like take the baby next time for his next cycle. And I was like, so they don't tell me when the baby is being fed? So that was weird, right? Well, like 2-3 hours later, the baby came to my room and I tried latching, and I'm still like awkward with the latches, but they gave you great like tips on how to latch the babies and what to do if your booba is hurt. But another like sus part was that I latched the baby up for like 5 minutes and he was like yum yum yumming, but he was like not that yumming that well. And then like 5-10 minutes later they were like, oh well, it seems like the baby's not latching on well, we'll take him back to the baby room and we'll just feed him formula. And I was like, this is weird, right? But like just got out of the hospital, Jinri brain didn't process it well, being like, oh well, how are we supposed to latch the baby onto my boobs if the baby's okay? Well, maybe this is how it's supposed to work, where if the baby isn't being fed well to my boob milk, they just feed them formula, right? So that was kind of sus. And I ended up giving off the baby, and this was the most craziest moment. I saw the bottle that they had, right? I saw the bottle that they were going to feed my baby, and the bottle portion seemed more. Oh, Hinatu, thank you for the 5 gifts and sub. Thank you. 감사합니다. This will go to my baby's future college fund. Thank you so much. Thank you. 감사합니다. Oh, you were in a 2-minute ad. I'm sorry. Yay, thank you. I got paid my allowance today. 감사합니다. Thank you. Anyways, oh, and then so the moment I was about to, give a baby and leave, I saw the bottle that they were going to feed my baby, and the amount seemed super sus. And the reason why I'm saying this was in the hospital, they give you a paper that said, oh, like how much the baby was being fed, what formula they were using. Like they're very thorough on what was given to the baby when the baby was discharged. So when I read it, like Jinri in the hospital had nothing to do, was reading everything about the baby. Trust me, nothing to do in the hospital. Anyways, in the paper they said the baby was fed 30 milliliters of formula. And so I was like, okay, 30 milliliters, like very little. And if you paid attention in science class, you know approximately how much 30 milliliters should be in a bottle, right? Very little. Now, when I saw the bottle in the postpartum care, that did not look like 30 milliliter. It looked about twice as much. So, curious Jinri asked the nanny, oh, how much is he being fed? And they were like, oh, 60. Sometimes he wants to eat 70. And that just gave me like a red flag of what? Why is my baby being fed 60? Right? Isn't that sus? So that night I had my dinner. Like that moment kept going through my head the whole time. Well, Mia came to the postpartum care after work. He had some urgent care to do, and I was talking to Mia, and I was like, Mia, I'm kind of sus about this. And he was like, what's up? And I was like, our baby in the hospital was being fed 30 milliliters, and then the next day, no, the baby was born 2.89 kilograms. And I was like, the next day, the baby all of a sudden eats 60 to 70? That seems very suspicious, right? All of a sudden, one day the baby eats double the amount. To me, that was very, very weird. And when I visited the baby room to check up on my baby, I saw him like, oh shoot, what's the word? Like kind of gagging? Not gagging, but like having formula all over. So he, what is it? What's the word? My brother told me and I forgot what the word was. It's not a spew? Spit up, thank you. I saw the baby spit up, and I was like, no, this is very weird. It's very sus, right? So the first thing I did was I ended up calling up all my friends who recently got a baby. So I started off with my brother. I called my brother, and I was like, hey bro, how much was, your baby being fed when he got out of the hospital? And he said for like a month, the baby was being fed 30 milliliters. I was like, yeah, that makes sense because you don't want to overfeed your baby. And I read in a book that the baby doesn't know when to stop eating. As in, if he keeps getting formula or any type of food, then he will just keep on yapping. He cannot stop himself at that infant age. And now it got really sus. So I called my other friends, and it seems that it's just a common it seems that it's a common thing in postpartum care that they are being fed 60 milliliters initially, and by the end of the postpartum care they're being fed 120 milliliters. And I was like, it does not make sense to me. And here I hear my brother being like feeding my cousin 30 milliliters for a month. In Korea, they're being fed 120 in 2 weeks, guys. That's 4 times. So I'm sitting here. What is going on? And what's surprising is that all my Korean friends who got a baby think it's natural for that to happen. So I'm like super confused. Well, in the back of the formula directions in the formula, they do say that by 2 weeks they can be fed 20 or they can be fed 60 in the back of the formula. So feeding the baby 60 isn't isn't a problem. But to me, it just feels like the next day they're being fed double the amount was a little unfortunate. So what I ended up doing was I got to the room. Well, I think the nanny came to me first because they were worried that I was feeding them 60. And they were like, it's okay. It's just that your baby eats a lot. And I was like, if the baby eats a lot, then wouldn't he want to be eating a lot during the hospital time? Because I was hospitalized for 4 days too. It just didn't, like, nothing was making connections to me, right? So I ended up calling my mom that time, and I was like, Mom, this is a little weird. And she told me, in Korea, back in the days, this is like old Korean way of raising kids, is that they actually force the babies to overgrow their stomach, or to increase their stomach size so that the baby can be fed a lot. And that was kind of like a thing that they did in Korea. So because it means that they're eating well. And I think they did that on purpose because back in the day, since Korea wasn't a very wealthy country, that a lot of babies die, so they wanted the babies to eat well. So that's why they're overfeeding the baby. However, we are in 2025. We don't need to overfeed the baby, right? So, and the formula has gotten much better in terms of getting closer to tasting like breast milk. I actually tried formula and my breast milk, so it was like, like it does taste very similar. Yeah, so that's their main purpose of like feeding a lot, but to me it didn't make sense. So I talked to them and they weren't giving like a great answer to me as well in terms of why they were feeding 60. They just keep saying that the baby wants to eat 60. I don't know. Well, I all of a sudden could not trust the postpartum care. I think in that end it was just me being a very protective mom. Oh shoot, my baby woke up. Anyway, so what I ended up doing was I'll leave the baby kind of crying for a bit because the story's almost over. So we ended up taking the baby home. So we ended up taking the baby to my room, and we stayed with the baby all night. And that was that one night that I will never forget because the baby cried all night. So we didn't want to feed him formula that night because I also read in a book saying that the baby can live off of just eating breast milk at the start. So then I was like, okay, well, if right now I can feed him my breast milk, then he should be fine all night. Nope, that was the most stupidest mistake. We stayed with the baby all night, and I can tell you it was the craziest moment. He's crying. We don't know why he's crying. So Mia opened the diapers, I swear to God, like 100 times that night, because we worry that he doesn't like wet diapers. We opened it, we checked it, and it was like nothing. So we closed it back. We thought that the swaddle that he was wrapped in was very uncomfortable. We thought maybe like the bed was uncomfortable. We tried latching onto like boobas. Nothing worked. He just cried all night. So we ended up calling the nanny. But the reason why I didn't want to call the nanny at first place because they didn't want to give the baby to me. I told them, you know what, tonight I want to stay with the baby. And they were like, oh, Mom, you need a rest. What are you thinking of? Like trying to stay with the baby? Hey, let us handle it. You go sleep. I was like, what the heck? Why won't they let me be with the baby? I was like, no, it's okay. I want to be with the baby. They were like, no. You need to go rest, honey. Like, go rest. I was like, okay. And I told that to Mia and I started crying. So like Mia ended up going there and Mia ended up getting the baby. But like that's also sus. It's like if the mom wants to get the baby, like why not just give the baby to them, right? the nanny and I just didn't go well together. I think that was what ended up happening, is that I just didn't get good answers of why the mom, or why the nanny was being why the nanny was feeding my baby that much, along with why the nanny wouldn't give the baby to me. Like, of course I want to rest, but if I'm okay, then they should give the baby to me. That wasn't happening. So the nanny and I did not work well together. But well, there's like, yeah. Anyways, so we just got a lot of trust issues from that on, as in we don't know what the baby is getting, like, going through. We also don't know, like, if the baby's gonna do well in the baby room. They do say they have the camera and it's open windows, but every time I go out there, the nannies kind of give you that death stare of, why is she like coming to see the baby like every so often, right? So we ended up being like, okay, we gotta find a better way of doing this. Well, we ended up spending the whole night, like I said, trying to figure out why the baby will not stop crying. By 3 in the morning, I ended up saying, okay, we gotta call the nanny. A different nanny came. That nanny was much nicer, and the nanny was like, oh, he's hungry. But what's surprising is that if the nanny picks up and like does this, oh, my baby, blah blah blah, my baby stops crying. I was like, oh my god, how come the baby didn't do that when we were holding the baby, you know? But it works with the nanny. Nannies are professional. They are really good. But they came again with 60 milliliters again, and I was like, I don't understand why they're feeding this much. She also said, oh, it's because this baby, that at least that's what it said in the checklist that they had of being fed 60 milliliters. So like, we were giving him breast milk. We were giving him formula. He only ate 30 this time. But the nanny was like, oh, no, he needs to eat more, and like was kind of like, to me, forcefully feeding the baby. And I was like, okay, you know what? We need to get out of this place. If we want to succeed in breast milk, I feel like we shouldn't feed the baby, right? And also, I told you guys earlier, they never called me to breastfeed it, and they were only going to give me the baby twice a day. In a lot of books, they say that that's not how breast milk works, or like breastfeeding works. You gotta latch onto the baby as much as you can for it to open and for it to succeed, right? But if I only do it like twice or 3 times a day, it's not gonna work. Some places, they call you at like 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning, you know, to latch on. But my place didn't do that. So I was like, okay, like, how can we trust them? And if I'm going to stay with the baby all day, then there's no point of me staying here. So what ended up happening was, I ended up 6 in the morning, we had to give the baby back. We didn't want to, but they were like, oh, we have to wash the baby and like do this. 6 in the morning, we gave the baby back, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna wait. If they are going to call me at like 8 in the morning for my breast call, then I will stay. If they don't do that, then I think we need to tell them that this is not acceptable of how they're doing this. So I ended up being like, we ended up waiting till 8. You know, there was nothing for us to do, by the way. And she was like, or we were like, oh, my baby is telling me that baby is hungry. And I think we should people buy. Wow, she came after a month? How? I guess she has a nanny too, taking care of the baby, right? Because there's no way she can be doing that. That's surprising. Anyways, I'll finish my story tomorrow. Damn it, I was gonna do 30 minutes K-pop thing. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for your gifted subs. And sorry today was all over the place. I think my brain is still dead, but it'll be better next time. Thank you guys. I'll miss you guys. Damn it! At least it was 42 minutes. Yes, or 2 days ago it was an hour 20 minutes. Okay. I'll see you guys. Let me go feed the baby. Bye.